Hi, here is my week 12 audio presentation assignment. Now, I apologize in advance. I'm just getting over being sick, hopefully. So if I cough throughout this, I'm very sorry. The article, Domestic Violence Against Rural Women in Pakistan, an issue of health and human rights, discusses the connection between domestic violence and violations against women's health and human rights. Their quantitative cross-sectional study shows the intersection of health and human rights and how domestic violence violates these basic rights. A person's health is a basic human right, but violence has stripped many individuals of this, especially women who live in rural, poverty-stricken areas. Figure 1 in this article demonstrates how domestic violence against women violates their reproductive health, bodily rights, and social rights, which in turn violates their human rights. Women living in rural areas are more vulnerable to domestic violence since it's more socially tolerated and they are more isolated from help. Despite this knowledge, developing countries have done little to focus on the link between violence and human health. So this study intends to explore domestic violence experiences and its association with women's mental and reproductive health outcomes. They used a cross-sectional study by randomly selecting face-to-face interviews, quantitative data, and both derivative and multivariable logistic regression analysis to identify the association between domestic violence and women's mental and reproductive health. This study was conducted in 5 comparable regions in Pakistan that provided access to rural women who, as mentioned earlier, experience majority of violence and human rights violations. The results of this study show women living in rural, poverty-stricken areas are more prone to domestic violence and more likely to experience physical and mental health issues like unplanned pregnancies and depression. Zakar states, "Our study shows that domestic violence is not only a social issue, but also a grave public health concern and human rights violation." This study also explained that lower education, lower socioeconomic status, and marriage at an early age are all significant predictors of domestic violence against rural women. I believe this study is a good start to showing a strong connection between domestic violence and a violation of women's health and human rights in poverty areas. I agree with Zakar, though, that future research, particularly qualitative and longitudinal research, is needed to understand the influence of rural culture and context on women's experiences of domestic violence.